Hey everybody, today's video is about why minimalism does not work for most people and how I went down that rabbit hole and really came close to selling everything that I owned. Let's talk about it. If you like learning about ways to improve your life and your finances and be financially free, be sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. I teach personal finance and business to tomorrow's future business leaders as a career, and I'm teaching it to you 100% free. So if you are interested in that and getting these lessons for free, just hit that subscribe button. So if you don't already know, minimalism is the art or the lifestyle of living with the minimal amount of things in your life. And what you might have already noticed too is a lot of the people that are telling you to become a minimalist and telling you that you need to do certain things in order to be a minimalist aren't actually living that life themselves. And that's kind of what I find a little hypocritical when I see these YouTubers with millions of views asking you to commit to their lifestyle, and then you find out through little things that they say and do that they're not even committed to that lifestyle. I believe truly that very few people can commit to minimalism and do it properly in the true sense of the word. And if you do, it's not as easy as you would think. So a couple years ago, I was really into minimalism. I learned everything that I could about it. I watched a ton of documentaries, a ton of videos, read books. I did everything possible to get myself ready to become a minimalist. The next step was what they like to call paring down or getting rid of the things that you don't need, the things that you don't really need but that you want in your life. This step here is one that's a real struggle for most people because the reason you purchase most things is because you liked them to begin with. So having to take something that you liked and say, I can live without it, get rid of it, that's fine. But then when you get into the more personal objects and the things that kind of do cause a lot of clutter, like old birthday cards and letters and pictures and gifts that were given to you, minimalists want you to get rid of those as well. A lot of minimalists actually say that you're able to keep those particular mementos and stuff like that, which is fine, but then technically you're not a true minimalist. And then other minimalists say you can live with just the basics. You just need food, water, shelter, a few clothing items, and you're good. The thing is, I wonder how many people have actually tried to commit to this lifestyle and gotten rid of so many things that they really regret getting rid of, because I know that happened to me. First thing to go for me was my Blu-ray collection. I was very, very proud of my Blu-ray collection. I had even been to multiple sales when movie stores were going out and Redbox was taking over, and I just built this amazing collection of movies that I loved, and I'm a big movie fan. I always have loved cinema. So for me, that was where I wanted to start, and I figured if I could commit to that, if I could get rid of these movies and figure out a good solution, which was digital, then I would be well on my way to becoming a minimalist. So movies and books were that was my first goal, was to get rid of those and to figure out a good alternative. And there are good alternatives. We do have digital. So if that's something that you want to do, you can convert to digital. And that's what I did. I went with Vudu because they had the convert your disc to digital thing going on at the time, and they may still do that, I don't know. But they would allow you to take a DVD or a Blu-ray that you already owned, scan it, and then pay them anywhere, I believe from like $5 to $7, and get the digital version of that movie. It's genius because they're selling you a movie that you already own, which has been done a million times over the years, switching from VHS to DVD to Blu-ray, and if you went with the HD DVDs between then you've got even more invested. So now we're at 4K and everything, and digital just seemed like a good way to go if I was going to keep my movie collection. What I found out quickly was not all of the movies that I had were available on digital. Some of them weren't, and so that was a tough decision to get rid of those movies. And then the ones that were on digital, I also discovered that I was spending a lot of money for something that was technically not mine. Now, it could be argued that we never truly own anything, but I do feel like if you own a Blu-ray or a DVD and you've got it in a physical version, you own that movie more than if you buy the digital copy. And here's why. Buying the digital copy is not buying a copy of that movie. You are buying a license to stream that movie whenever you want. That's like Netflix selling you a license for each movie that you watch and saying, you can watch it whenever you want to. You just pay us this one time and you can watch it whenever. But here's the catch. If the streaming services decide that they no longer, for whatever reason, want you to have access to that movie, they have the right to revoke access. It's actually in their terms that they can do that. And it's crazy because, again, if you buy a physical version of something, you've got that forever. You buy a digital version, you're buying access to view that. Same with the ebooks. I buy a lot of ebooks, and I really do enjoy my ebooks on my Kindle, but I'm not buying the book. I'm buying access to read that book. And it's great for the streaming services and the digital content services because they have this one file stored on their servers, and the file might not get access very much, honestly, depending on the movie, but the people who buy access to it, occasionally when they watch it, then they're going to stream directly from their servers. So it's not like that movie is actually on your device. That's important to know if you're wanting to convert your things to digital in the attempt of becoming a minimalist, because that's what I did. I took my books and my movies and converted them to digital, which also, might I add, was a very expensive process. I spent hundreds of dollars doing this because I was really convinced that minimalism was my new lifestyle. The next thing I did was I got rid of just about everything that I owned that I didn't use regularly. And that's another concept that minimalism really promotes, is if you don't use it regularly, get rid of it. And for me, that wasn't a huge issue because over the years, that's what I've done. If I buy something and I don't use it, I've always sold it in exchange for receiving some type of money back, because to me, it's more valuable if you're not going to use something to get the money. But that's a little different when we're talking about sentimental things and objects that you buy just because you like them and that's something that you think is cool. A lot of the stuff you have can't really be sold for much money, if any money at all. And so a lot of the things that I got rid of, I donated, and someone ended up with some pretty cool stuff is all I'm going to say. What I found shortly after was a lot of the things that I got rid of, I did have uses for, even in small ways. So I ended up buying them again. And slowly over time, I ended up accumulating just as much stuff as I had before. Different things, of course, but just as much. And I think that's where most people are at with minimalism. They try it, and it just isn't sustainable. We live in a very money-driven society, especially here in America. Everything's about money. Everywhere you go, they're trying to sell you something. When you wake up in the morning, you are bombarded with ads from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. Someone's trying to sell you something. It's just how it is. I don't personally like that. I think that it's one of the worst parts of a capitalist society. But hey, it's part of it. You just have to know how to start managing your purchases. And I think that that would be a better thing to teach people than to teach them to get rid of everything. Yeah, you can get rid of your stuff. And yes, you can do it in a process and in a way that makes sense to where it's not so much of a psychological strain and so much of a hit to your mood and your attitude, because it really is. When you look around and you see you are in a room that is empty, when your room starts to echo because of the lack of things in it, that's when you start to realize minimalism isn't really all it's cracked up to be. Now, I love the idea of minimalism. I personally, since I went through this process years ago, I have bought so much less than I normally would. It was not unusual for me to go to the mall with some friends and buy tons of just random junk because we're at the mall. Why not? Now, I very rarely even go to stores and shop, and online, I try to make the purchases that I make with my time and my money in mind. And I do have another video on how to actually not purchase things that you don't need. It's a really easy concept to master, and it's something that I think is more beneficial than trying to go and live a minimalist lifestyle. You've definitely heard of the people who only have 10 items in their life and things like that. And that's cool if that's how you want to live, but I feel like it's more of a trend than it is a permanent lifestyle. It's kind of like the tiny house movement. I love those too, and that's part of minimalism, is learning to live with less. I think that it's a really cool concept, but everybody that I know who has bought a tiny house or considered a tiny house, I even went and looked at I was very seriously considering them myself. Everyone that I spoke to who actually owns one, or anyone who I saw their videos from when they bought one to 3 or 4 years later, I feel like there was a lot of regret there. If you look into it, there's a lot of people that bought tiny houses that are telling you don't do it because it's not sustainable for everyone. And I think it's the same with minimalism. It's not a concept that's really sustainable for the mass population. For a handful of people who are really committed to that idea and want that to be their lifestyle, I think that's awesome if you can do it. I really do. I feel like for me though, I'm not a very materialistic person. In fact, 90% of what I own, if I had to sell it tomorrow, I wouldn't really cry over that, It's just the more sentimental things that I personally don't see the point in getting rid of if you don't have to, because there will come a day when you do want to look at those things, and there will come a day when you want that in your life. It's just going to happen. It's inevitable, and I would rather have that there, even if it's in the back of my closet and I'll never see it. The chance that I might someday, if it's sentimental to me, is worth keeping it than the mental strain of knowing that I've just gotten rid of something that was personal and a part of my life. I know this is a very debated topic. Minimalism is popular. And like I said, I tried it myself. I really did. I don't have a lot of furniture and a lot of things to begin with. In fact, when people visit my house, they say, you don't have any art on your wall. I have like 3 things on my wall throughout the house, and one of which is the television. So I don't have a lot of stuff, a lot of clutter, and a lot of junk. And I think there is a difference in having things and then having junk and clutter. There is a difference. I mean, if you're struggling to get rid of anything, that's a problem. But if you're forcing yourself to get rid of things just because you think this is the way to go, that's going to bring you happiness, I don't think that's the case. I think it actually causes a lot of people more pain than minimalists would actually like to admit. As most of you know, I love to collect old film cameras, and during this minimalist period, I got rid of my favorites. I got rid of all of them, but maybe 1 or 2. And again, some people got some really good deals when I did. I sold my Contax T2 for next to nothing, and those are going for over $1,000 in some cases now, which is insane. But I'm glad it was just a camera and not something sentimental like a box of photos. The thing was though, I still could have that camera because I didn't have to sell it. It was just part of my experiment in becoming a minimalist. I want to know in the comments if you've ever tried minimalism, or if you've adopted the principles in some part of your life. If there's an area of your life where you are a minimalist, I think digital minimalism is really something to look into, and that's something I'm going to explore more, because reducing the amount of clutter in our digital life is something that I think is far more beneficial than getting rid of all of the things that we own. This is just my opinion, but I do think that if you're searching for happiness in minimalism, you really do need to consider these things first. Try it out on a small scale before you go and get rid of everything, because you don't want to be in a position where you can't buy the things that you sold back, and you don't want to be in a position where it's causing you more mental strain and stress than had you just kept the things in the first place. So let me know in the comments. I need to hear all about your opinions when it comes to minimalism, because it's a very hot topic right now. And again, you're seeing YouTubers who tell you they're minimalist, and on the other hand, I saw one the other day, and I'm not saying their name because I've known them for a while and I really enjoy their content, but they claim to be a minimalist, and a large portion of their channel is based around the things that they buy. I'm a minimalist, but I buy tons of workout gear because working out's great though. That's part of the minimalist lifestyle. I'm a minimalist, but I love to go grocery shopping and fill up a cart full of just tons of stuff to try. And a large part of their channel is also trying new foods and things, which is great. But when you see their shopping cart overflowing with food, you're like, how does that relate to the minimalist mindset? Does that not count in other areas of your life, only in the ones you want it to? And then I saw where the other day they had a MacBook that was a few years old and running slow, and rather than try to upgrade it or clean it up, which I would think would be more of the minimalist mindset, fixing what you already have, they went out and bought another one. And it wasn't that it wasn't even working or really going that slow. It was when they were exporting a video, it was frustrating to wait that long, they said. Are you truly a minimalist? I'm sorry, I feel like I've missed something there if that's the case. If you can go buy a new MacBook every time that you're frustrated with it going a little bit slow, that's not really minimalism, in my opinion. And I know this might not be a popular opinion, but that's not minimalism. True minimalism, I would think, would be living with the bare minimum, just the things that you need, and then when something does happen to them, trying to fix them or repair them before going to your last resort, which is replacing it. Think that we really need to examine the YouTubers that are telling us to change our entire lives on a whim because it made them happy, even when they're not technically living the life themselves. So again, if you want more videos that just make sense about everyday life and your finances, I want you to be financially free and to really know how to spend your money and where to spend it. I teach business and personal finance for a living. Teaching tomorrow's entrepreneurs and business owners is something that I really am proud of. And I'm wanting to give these lessons to you absolutely free, 100% free of charge. So just hit that subscribe button if you want them. You can even ding the notification bell if you want to be notified of new ones. I appreciate that. And then please give this video a thumbs up because it really helps more people be able to see the video. And I'll see you guys later.